right? So we've already identified that the root of our struggle is often lack of self-love, right? So now we have to ask ourselves the question, where is that feeling coming from? Where is the feeling of unworthiness emerging from, right? So today we're going to start with a very powerful truth. And remember that past has no power over me. Always remember and remind yourself that the past has no power over me, right? No matter what has happened, we have to learn to sort of let go of that past. And oftentimes we only cling on to the past because unconsciously we somewhere hold the fear that it has some kind of power over us, right? That specific experience is not letting me move on. But just remember, it's just a thought, and a thought can be changed. A thought can be sort of replaced by a new thought, right? So the moment you replace an existing thought with a new thought, you are creating new neural pathways in your brain so that uh, uh, right? So you're creating a new belief system. So the whole point is identifying what your limiting belief system has been and then replacing it with something new, right? New and positive and more productive. So, talking about this, right, let's understand the metaphor of the rose, right? I want you to think about a rose. You know, you have a beautiful picture here on this, but think about, roses, right? From the time a rose is a tiny bud, it is absolutely perfect, isn't it? It opens, it blooms into a beautiful flower with time, right? It doesn't rush as it receives the right amount of uh, minerals from the soil, the right amount of sunlight, the right amount of water, it itself blooms, right? And it remains perfect until the last petal has fallen. Yeah? It is always beautiful. I I don't think I've come across anybody who has looked at a rose with fewer or more petals and made that comparison, right? A rose with a fewer petals, you still, an original, authentic rose, which is not a hybrid version. You want to, if it's smelling, it always smells, perfect. Um, I mean, I am the kind of person, I really don't care if a rose is looking perfect, but the moment I look at a beautiful rose, I am just, drawn to it, right? So a rose opens into a beautiful flower, blooms into a beautiful flower, and even as the last petal falls, it always remains beautiful and ever changing, right? So, what are we? Who are we? We are just like that rose, right? We were born perfect, right? And we are doing the best we can, right? If you want to remind yourself of this, talk to yourself in front of a mirror and tell yourself that I was born perfect, I am doing the best I can, right? And with whatever resources I have, with whatever experiences I've had, with whatever circumstances I've been given, right? And with the amount of awareness I have in the moment, right? So this is a reminder of the wholeness of us, right? What happens as we grow up as adults is that we are consistently impacted by the environment around us. Why? Because as we're growing up, we're in that vulnerable stage. Um, Teenagers, for instance, are most vulnerable, right? They're taking in everything they're receiving from their environment around them, right? So as a child, you were a superconductor, right? You were absolutely perfect. What do you mean by being a superconductor? You're a superconductor because you're a superconductor for information, right? If you were told you're good, you were very happy to hear that. If you were told you were bad or clumsy, you felt bad, right? So you took in everything you heard from your environment, and based on everything you heard from your environment or grasped from your environment, you your emotions were created, right? Your emotions sort of created your reality, created your mental patterns, right? Your thoughts. So you didn't lose your perfection, right? You just learned a new limited identity, right? Perfection has always been there, right? We're always perfect, right from the moment we're born until this moment. And to the last breath that we will take. We are always going to be perfect, right? Ever changing. Change is always going to be there, but what impacts us is the level of thinking, right? What are we taking in? What are we choosing to accept? What are we choosing to reject? We are only going to create a reality based on that. Okay? But the perfection is always within us, right? So most of us are impacted by the past, right? So where we're talking about, what she talks about is the illusion of the past. Now, we often punish ourselves in the present moment because someone hurt us in the long time ago in the past, right? But the past, Louise Hay says, is over now, right? We don't have to continue living in that past, right? The realization that your current pain is merely a reaction to a memory, what it does is it frees us. The moment we realize that our current reaction, our current state of mind is only a product of something we're holding on from the past, this realization frees us, right? So just understand that maybe you are behaving a certain way, maybe you're thinking, overthinking, overanalyzing things because of certain incidents that have happened in the past, right? But the moment you change it, the moment you choose to just let it go, right, you understand that it really has no power over you, right? It doesn't matter how long we have had a specific negative pattern, but the point of power always lies in the present moment. It's always in the present moment, right? 2 minutes ago, what I was thinking does not define me, right? 2 days ago, what happened in my life also does not define me, right? Whether it is good or bad, I'm saying both, right? So if you might have received an award 2 days ago, if you think that defines you, it does not. It does not. What defines you is what you do in this present moment, right? You can celebrate that win. It's over, it's gone, move on, the present moment, right? We can't remain in the past. Why? Because if you're only sticking to, yeah, I did this so great, and you stop evolving, stop learning something new, you're again creating your future reality, right? Because you stopped evolving, you stopped learning new things, right? So your past success or your past failures don't define you. They're just experiences that you've had. It's your present moment that defines you. Now, this is very important to understand. How do you identify your limiting beliefs, right? Now, what Louise Hay talks about is she says that a lot of our limiting beliefs are actually inherited, right? So let's look at this programming of a child. When we are very little, we learn how to feel about ourselves and about life by mirroring the reactions of the adults around us. We just talked about that, right? When we were children, if we were told that you're good, you're nice, you're kind, you're doing a good job, we suddenly, felt really good about ourselves, right? Because we're being appreciated, right? Because as children, we learn the whole concept of validation. This is the social conditioning. This is the most important thing to understand. We're learning to get conditioned based on the reactions and instructions of others, right? So we are obedient little children who accept what we hear from everybody around us, right? And it's not just parents, but it's everybody. Your neighbor can tell you that, walk carefully or you're going to fall down, right? And you suddenly will have that fear in your mind. Oh my God, I better walk carefully. Otherwise, I'm going to fall down, right? As an adult, if someone tells you that, and you're confident that you're walking a certain way and you like the way you're walking, you're not going to take it too seriously because now you're aware, I'm fine. I'm not going to fall down. Yes, I'm careful. Maybe if I want to hop, I'm going to hop instead of walking, but I'm going to hop carefully. You will have that confidence in you because now you're aware. But as a child, if someone hears, if a child hears something like that, the child will immediately pick that up, and those antennas of being careful are going to be turned on, right? So, whatever we hear as children, whatever we heard as children, we took it as an absolute truth and we internalized our fears, right? So, children internalize fears, children internalize anger, unhappiness, all kinds of emotions, right? We base our adult life often, huh, which is scripted on our earliest messages that we received during our childhood, during our teenage years. Okay. So it's very important why we're talking about this. Why is Louise Hay talking about this? She's talking about this because she wants us to identify what were those narratives, right? Because those are the narratives that basically translate as fears in the adult life, right? If a child, for instance, was told, never go near the water, you're going to drown. Believe me, that adult will never learn how to swim. They might be told, they might be suggested, take swimming lessons. This is going to be useful to you. But some sort of phobia, unknown fear would always inhibit, would always prevent them from truly learning how to swim. Why? Because someone told them in childhood that never go near the water, you're going to drown, right? So what does this tell us? She does not say this in her book, but this is something that I'm telling you. That what does this tell us? This tells us, first of all, how to understand what are our limiting beliefs. If I have a phobia of this is this, maybe this is coming from certain narratives from the past. Now, these narratives could be from this lifetime. These narratives could also have been carried forward from previous lifetimes to this lifetime. Okay, so just becoming aware of it, just becoming conscious of it would sort of free you to some extent from the fear. There is, of course, a lot of work to be done on yourself, right? Just this understanding might not free you entirely, but it will give you some relief that yes, maybe this has come from my past, somewhere in my past. So now, I am not an expert to tell you how to tackle the fears and problems or any kind of limiting beliefs that come from previous lifetimes, right? Because I'm not a past regression coach, right? For that, you might need to speak to somebody specific. However, for this lifetime, here is a technique that you can do. I want you to, and you do this on your own, right? After this session. So make a list of all the fears that you have that you've been carrying forward from your childhood, right? And make a list of them. So you can make a list of them how? Maybe there are narratives that are, sort of ringing in your ears, like somebody said something limiting. You're not smart enough, or you're not good looking enough. Maybe somebody said something like, you're never on time. You never do these things. You don't know how to do this, and you're never gonna do this properly. I know that, right? Someone somewhere said this in your childhood. These are just examples, okay? Make a list of all these examples. Put them in quotes if this was a narrative, somebody said something to you, right? And I want you to create two columns, A and B. Column A, things people said to you that were limiting beliefs, okay, that made you feel somewhere limited. And on column 2, I want you to, one by one, for each statement, reverse it. So if someone said you're not good looking enough, you say, I am absolutely stunning. I am beautiful. Reverse those statements and then use them as affirmations to practice in your mind. So what you're doing, you're sort of replacing those old narratives with new narratives. Okay, so you're building new neural pathways in your brain. Because if you don't do that, those limiting beliefs are going to stop you somewhere. Next time when you have a swimming lesson, and if you had somewhere, heard in your childhood that childhood time that don't go near water, you can never swim, you're going to drown. You're not a good swimmer. You don't know how to swim. Now, next time when you have a swimming lesson, tell yourself, I am absolutely capable of swimming. I am really skilled. I'm going to learn how to swim. I am learning how to swim and I am a great swimmer, right? I'm going to save lives in doing so, right? So you change your narrative, say the opposite. So this is one way of reprogramming your limiting beliefs, okay? Let's move forward. So this is one technique. I want you to follow this. I want you to try this out and really make a list of any limiting narratives that have impacted you in your um childhood time, okay? And in your that continue to impact you in your adult life. Okay, so moving forward now, let's talk about mapping our negative messages. So this is exactly what I talked about, right? So um, writing all your negative messages or your negative narratives that you heard as a child, uh, from anybody. That could be even someone, even a teacher, right? Any authority figure, right? That includes your uh, elders, any elders, your teachers, your anybody from your family, any other authority figure, your aunts, uncles, relatives, whoever, your siblings also, anybody who told you anything that you could not do, right? Change that narrative. Okay. So um, let's move forward instead of, I don't want to repeat this, but this is basically talking about the same thing. Now, it's very important. Louise Hay says that it is so important for us to understand, right, the inner environment of a child, of a 3-year-old. Okay, think about this. Each of us has an inner child, right, a 3-year-old within us, and we often spend our days criticizing that child, right? If there is anyone who unconsciously is criticizing them in their thoughts, in their heads, right? You're unconsciously, having this narrative keeps on going, and I'm not good at this, I'm not that, or I'm not doing this right, I'm not making efforts enough, etc., etc., right? Um, that is something that you're doing unconsciously, and you need to stop doing that. You need to become very conscious of it, right? Think about this. Think about this. If you saw a frightened child, right, sitting in a corner, would you say all those things to them, right? You wouldn't, right? You wouldn't hit them. You wouldn't say those damaging narratives to them, right? You would reach out to them and you would just comfort them. You would hold them. You would hug them. You would tell them everything is going to be okay. So, anytime you have self berating thoughts, think of yourself as that 3-year-old. What does that 3-year-old need? That child needs love. That child needs compassion. So you need to learn to parent yourself. Okay? When our parents became parents, nobody taught them how to be a parent. Why? Because nobody teaches us how to parent ourselves. How can we learn to parent others? Parent absolutely new human beings, right? So we are very big at blaming our families, blaming our parents for they did this to us, they did this to us, right? And it's very easy also to do that. But if you think about it, in our society, decades and decades ago, and even today, unfortunately, nobody nobody tells us how to parent ourselves, right? So we continue to berate ourselves unconsciously, in our thoughts, in our internal narratives, and consciously or unconsciously, we berate others also. We see someone doing something imperfectly and we tell them unconsciously or rudely, you don't know how to do this. How have you done this? And you realize it, when you realize it, you become aware of it. But oftentimes we do this to ourselves and we do this to others, right? So Louise Hay says that, oftentimes when we do this to others is because we have been doing this to ourselves too much as well. Or we have heard this, these narratives that have that have had a damaging impact on us during childhood, right? So it's very important to first be a kinder, a more loving parent to yourself before you can be that loving parent to anybody else outside of you, right? Whether it's your children, whether it's you as a teacher, whether it's your students, whether it's your neighbor, right? And being a parent doesn't mean literally being a parent. Whenever you're talking to another human being, in a way, if you're telling someone, if you're instructing someone, you're kind of parenting. What kind of parenting do you want to do? You will only do the kind of parenting with others, the kind of parenting you've done with yourself, right? So, learning to be kinder to yourself is the message that she's trying to give us, right? Change your narrative, your internal narrative that you're having with yourself, and that will help you change your inner environment. Okay. Now, she talks about this beautiful thing. Just one second. So, she talks about the two parts of the inner child, right? She talks about the scolding and the yelling. Either you can scold or yell. And what happens when you scold or yell, right? What is the action? Telling the child how stupid they are, that they never do anything right. Most of the people who say this to anybody else, they are saying these things, these narratives to themselves internally. You know, you burnt a sabzi while cooking once, and you'll be like, how stupid I am. How could I do this? Instead of being kinder to yourself that, oh my God, this happened. It's okay. Let me give myself the grace. It happened once. It happened twice. Even if it happened thrice, it's okay. Next time I'm going to be careful. It's fine. Let me do things differently next time and see. I'm sure things are going to work out. You can have a kinder narrative towards yourself, right? So a loving and comforting way of, telling someone something is how much you care and that it's okay to make mistakes. We're all learning, right? What is the result of someone who scolds themselves or others? You become frightened. You become rebellious, right? Rebellious adult who sits docilely in the corner or tears up in the place, right? We never know their true potential. Why? Because they'll be too scared to perform the next time. They'll be just scared, doing the same thing again. And and you do this to yourself also. Like last time I burnt that, vegetable. I don't know. I hope I make this right. I hope this turns out to be well. I hope this turns out to be, perfect. And the moment you say you hope it turns out to be perfect, I can guarantee you're going to mess up. Why? Because you're only acting out of fear, right? But if you're acting out of love, right, and out of comfort and out of grace, out of having patience and kindness towards yourself, you will have a more joyous expression of life, right? So that potential comes out of that child. The potential that comes out of that child will completely blow your mind, right? Uh, because you had faith in that person, you had faith in yourself, right? So the next time you cook the same thing, you have faith in yourself that, hey, I have done this so many times. I know how to do this. I'm going to get this right. This is going to be fantastic. And it will be fantastic because you're putting in that faith, right? So learn to be kinder to yourself and learn to be kinder to others, right? Only positive, kinder emotions lead to more loving, positive uh, impact, right? So it's all about the kind of narratives we use. Now, she talks about the trap of the blame, right? So, and she repeatedly talks about it because this is exactly what happens. Anytime things go wrong, we are very quick at blaming others and blaming ourselves or blaming the situation, blaming the circumstance. And it's also the easier way out. And I'm not going to say that people who have done that because I've done that too. Sometimes I do that, right? Um, Out of frustration. Most times we blame out of frustrations, right? But it's very easy to pinpoint that finger on somebody and say that, oh, you did it to me. That's what Louise Hay talks about. But blame is a sure shot way of staying stuck in life, right? So um, in her chapter, she takes examples of how people usually blame their parents, right? But then she says that parents are also victims of victims, as I said, right? They also were conditioned to be a certain way, right? And whatever awareness they had, whatever level of awareness they had, only based on that level of awareness, they were able to share what they were able to share, right? So they basically did their best, right? So we cannot blame anybody, right? They could not teach you how to love yourself if they did not know how to love themselves, right? So they were doing the best they could with the knowledge and the awareness they had, right? So understanding that what blame does is only take away our own power, right? It's only take away our ability to take responsibility for ourselves, right? So when you understand that, it enables us to rise above the issue and look at solutions, instead of being stuck with the problem or with the circumstance. So, right? So, look at this. Grandparents' fear of rigid patterns led to parents' helplessness and conditioning, which led to our own limiting beliefs, right? So they could not possibly have taught us anything they did not know. And those people who did all that stuff to you were just as frightened and as scared as you are. So here I'm quoting Louise Hay, right? So what she says is that understanding the childhood, your parents' childhoods, right? It allows you to develop that compassion for them, right? And for a lot of people who have been subjected to trauma that came from through their childhood immediate environment, they're only able to free themselves from that trauma when they learn about their parents' childhoods and their conditioning that they received, right? So for a lot of people, it's not easy to have that conversation with their families. For some people, it is. If it is easy for you to have access to that conversation, or speak with your families, it's good. If it if it is not easy to do that, or if it's not possible to do that, um, the only thing you can do is learn to forgive them, right? Learning to develop compassion and forgiveness, now that you're aware that each individual only shares with us what based on their own level of awareness, right? So, coming to the understanding the school of life, right? Now, why we're talking about that is because now she touches upon, Louise Hay touches upon spirituality here, right? What is she trying to tell us? She says that now, based on spiritual science, we incarnate on this planet to learn about specific lessons necessary for our spiritual evolution, and that we ourselves choose our parents, right? We choose a specific set of individuals who are going to help us learn lessons to advance in our spiritual evolution, our spiritual journey, right? So who people in our lives, that siblings, parents, aunts, uncles, friends, people who don't turn out to be really good friends, people who support us, people who not necessarily support, right? Anybody in our life, each and every individual who's passing, crossing path in your life, you have chosen. You've chosen because they will come at specific times in your life with specific lessons. They will come with help. They will come with difficulties. Some people come, you know, you must have heard this quote, some people come to teach us, some people come to help us, some people, come in our lives to, teach us lessons. Some people come in our lives to help us, lead us forward. Some people come in our lives to hold us back, but then also there are lessons that come with that, right? Part of it is karma, and part of it is, uh, but everything else, everything is basically learning, right? Everything is learning. So if you want to become a lawyer, uh, you will go to law school. The parents you have chosen in this time around were perfect experts to mirror the exact patterns you came to earth to overcome, right? Or to learn about, right? So if ever you felt that you weren't heard enough, now you understand the importance of being heard. Then you understand the importance of community, and you understand the importance of having loving people in your life. What value loving people in your life bring to you? I have had loving family. Like my family has given me a lot of love. I came with imperfections, right? Because nobody is perfect, and we are talking about all these things, right? But the less I've learned two different kinds of lessons. The kind of lesson that what happens when you have, how loving and supportive, support, what kind of love and support you can receive from somebody who chooses to hear you out, to understand you, right? And what happens when, um, people don't hear you out, people don't listen to you, right? Then what is the lesson that I learned? I learned that, hey, I need to learn to trust my intuition, to be able to assert myself, to be able to also accept the imperfections of others. Why? Because I understand that no two people think the same way. Everybody's only speaking from their own perspective based on their own um, understanding or experience or awareness, right? This is the lesson that I have learned. This is the understanding that I have developed through my experiences. So, the other thing now Louise Hay talks about is that once you have that level of awareness, it is so important to constantly and every single day do that mental house cleaning. What do you mean by house cleaning? Whenever you have mess in your house, right? You choose to clean it up. Why? Because mess doesn't look good. It overwhelms you. It is same thing goes with your mind, right? You have to constantly imagine your mind as a room that you want to make sure is always clean, right? So how does a mind gets polluted? With thoughts that don't serve us, the thoughts, the negative patterns or thoughts that pull us down, right? That limit us. So any limiting beliefs, we need to brush them out. We need to take a broom and brush them out of our mind. How can we do that? I'm not talking about a literal broom, but your broom is going to be a metaphor for positive rewiring. So, replacing any negative beliefs or negative thoughts with positive belief systems, right? So, reversing those negative statements or negative narratives you've heard from anybody else, or negative narratives that you've been telling yourself based on what you heard from someone else. Right? Sometimes we internalize and we just accept those beliefs, and now we're sitting with those beliefs and we're like, why am I the way I am? It's because you have been thinking a certain way. You need to change that, right? So pick up each belief, each statement, and examine it carefully, right? Some you will polish with love, and others that are old and dirty, like newspapers, right? Or broken plates, what you need to do, and they don't serve you anymore, you need to just throw them out, okay? Right? So just take them apart. You don't need those anymore, right? So, but how you do this is by giving yourself grace, and you learn to be patient with yourself, because this is the kind of thing that has to be done consistently. Just like you don't just clean your house once in 3 weeks, you clean your house every single day, don't you? Right? So just like that, you have to be consistent with your mental housekeeping, right? You have to make sure that you uh, clean your narratives, rewire your thoughts every single day. So, setting aside some time every single day for yourself is crucial. Next, so house cleaning triage. This just gives you like, step by step, how do you do this, right? So, examine and polish beliefs that serve us well. We look at them with love, we dust them off and shine them to make them even more useful, right? Beliefs that serve us. I am absolutely amazing, right? I am a collaborative person. I am loving. I am kind. No matter, you have always had this loving belief within you, no matter what anybody else says, right? You don't need to hear everybody else. You don't need to accept other people's beliefs. Stay firm in your positive belief that you've had, right? Notice and repair. Now, if there is any negative belief, any belief that needs adjusting, any belief that needs rewiring, reframing, do that, right? We make a mental note of it. What do you mean by that? Mental note, right? It simply means becoming conscious of it. So there might be narratives that you are unconsciously running in the background. You just have to become aware. One of the best ways to do that is when you meditate. When you meditate, your quantum of thoughts will first rise up and then will slowly start decreasing with everyday meditation practice. Okay. And then you will realize that you start becoming aware of your narratives. You start really, when you're not meditating, you'll start noticing what's being running in the background. And the moment you start noticing, you consciously make the habit of catching that narrative. How will I do this? I'll never be able to do this. Why am I saying this to myself? That's incorrect. I can do this, and I will do this brilliantly well. Change that narrative, right? So becoming consciously aware of it. Calmly discard beliefs that no longer serve us. We drop them into the waste basket as easily as yesterday's newspaper or dirty paper plates, right? So we don't have to keep them, we just discard them, right? So you just let go of that narrative. I let go of that limiting belief. And you simply tell yourself, I let go of that limiting belief, right? And notice what I'm saying. I'm not using any negative negation here, right? So for instance, if for instance you're scared of something, you look at the weather. For instance, I'll give you an example. You look at the weather and you say, and you see that it's going to snow. And you've already internalized since many years, I don't like snow, I don't like cold, blah blah blah. And the moment you look at the weather prediction, now your old pattern is going to run quickly, right? If you're not conscious, you're like, I hate snow, it's going to snow again, I hate cold, etc etc, right? So you if you're conscious, you're going to be like, you will catch that belief in the midst of your thought, and you'll be like, it's okay. You change your narrative. I love snow. you know Snow is going to look so beautiful. I'll be absolutely fine. I am absolutely fine. I'll continue with my chores just the way I always do, and I'll do them actively and with full energy, right? Instead, a lot of people go in defensive mode. They use negation. They say, no, no, I love snow. I don't hate snow, right? The moment you say, I don't hate snow, you're still hating snow, right? So you're still using those wordings, you're still using those narratives. So don't go in negation. Keep your sentences crisp and short, and say them with all your heart, and keep them positive, right? So if you want to change a narrative, you don't go in negation to change a narrative. You change a narrative absolutely using opposite words, opposite adjectives, right? So instead of saying I am not sad, you say I am happy, right? I am not this, I won't do this, right? So no negation. Keep your sentences positive and keep your narratives positive, and your thoughts also positive, and say them with firm belief and calm but firm belief, right? That's how you change your inner wiring. If a thought or belief does not serve you, you just let it go, or you change your narrative. The point of power is always in the present moment. So, no matter what the problem is, this is what Hay talks about right from the beginning, and she'll talk about this, she'll repeat this because this is exactly the truth. This is exactly the secret of what has been given, even in The Secret by Rhonda Bryan. Learning to understand the power of the now. And there's also a book, The Power of Now, isn't it? No matter what the issue is, no matter what the circumstances, no matter what the experiences, no matter what has happened and hasn't happened in the past, right? What has happened, what occurred in the past, what things, you sort of hoped would happen, but, things haven't been the same, right? It's okay, right? Everything depends on your present inner thoughts, right? So she says that even if you don't like yourself, right, it's basically just a thought, and any thought about yourself or about anybody else can easily be changed, right? If you do not have the thought, you will not have the feeling, but that's not possible. Thoughts will always be there. I'll also tell you that thoughts are going to be there because that's the function of your brain. But what kind of thoughts you choose to entertain really depends on you, right? And what that requires is becoming conscious. How do you become conscious? When you learn thought management. How do you learn thought management? When you sit and meditate, right? So that the quantum of thoughts doesn't keep increasing, you learn to manage it. You learn to become empty, right? Bring yourself the calm. And then when you go back, you become more aware. When you come back, come out of meditation, you're more aware, right? So the only thing we are ever dealing with is a thought, and a thought can be changed right now. So in the present moment. So now she talks about this beautiful way of transcending our limitations, right? So she's talking about the same thing, but what she's basically saying is, again, we have to be very much aware. Now, we've talked about being aware of our limiting thoughts. We have to be very much aware of our magnificence. Okay. So, going back to the fact that just like little babies, that, we find little babies very, always magnificent. We're always like saying, oh, this kid is so cute, etc., etc. But do you ever compliment yourself? Looking in front of the mirror and say, hey, I'm cute. You know, do you ever say that? Does anybody do that? I don't think as adults anybody does that, right? Because we don't, when our society, we don't hear that from each other unless we're dressed up for a party. You're looking nice, your jewelry is looking nice, your clothes are looking nice. But do you ever compliment yourself every single day, right? Or do you only scan for imperfections when you look at the mirror, right? So we haven't come on this planet, we haven't been born to impress everybody around us, right? We have come to this planet to express our authentic magnificence, our individuality, and that is our magnificence, right? Every day you choose to be authentic and, and your unique self without changing anything, you are expressing your magnificence, right? Look at nature. Nature never repeats itself, right? Since time began, we have never been, there's never been two snowflakes, two similar snowflakes or two daisies that look exactly alike, right? So we need to sort of appreciate our uniqueness. And it's our uniqueness that basically is our power. So anytime you look at all these advertisements, or you go to Sephora, people have completely lost it, trying different kinds of things, hoping those things will make them look better. And we've all fallen for that. I remember, when I had no idea what I was going through, I, how many times I looked for the perfect lip shade for myself that would make me look prettier. Okay. And every single time, guys, I'll tell you, every single time I was disappointed because there's not a single lip shade I have. I have a whole collection of it. Nothing makes me look prettier than uh, just the way I am. And I've realized it recently. I've realized it like, oh my God, I am beautiful. Why the hell have I been doubting myself so much? I used to doubt myself a lot. Overlook or underappreciate, right? So this why? Because we've been conditioned to, you know, compare ourselves with so many with others, compare ourselves with our cousins, compare ourselves with our siblings, compare ourselves with the random people, with people we don't even know that come on television, all those actors, actresses, models, etc. We don't have to look like anybody else to look beautiful, to feel beautiful, right? So your external image, right? You need to be appreciative of who you are, and you have to also appreciate yourself, your uniqueness as to who you are on the inside. If you're somebody who does not like to do XYZ kind of things, and everybody else expects you to do that, it's okay, right? If you're someone who is not good at one thing that everybody else is good at, it's okay. You don't have to beat yourself up. That's who you are. It is as simple as that, right? Some people are good at some things, some people are not good at some things, and it's absolutely okay, right? So when we create those stereotypes, or if we have been victims of stereotypes that we have been fed right from childhood, we need to unlearn those things and let them go, right? So it's just like, in childhood, we were told that girls are only meant to be, pretty. They don't have to do these things. They should walk a certain way. They cannot climb trees, etc., etc. Right? That's all. That's crazy. That's all. These are all stereotypes. We don't need to entertain those stereotypes, because today you can do anything you want, right? You can do anything you want as long as you know you can do anything you want. If you don't believe in it, you certainly will not be able to do that task, right? And the proof of that, for instance, look at women in sports. Decades and decades, years and years ago, women were not allowed to compete for certain sports. They were not allowed to compete in the same sports as men were practicing, right? But they are doing that now, and they're doing it better, right? So, you know, in the present moment, there are so many examples in this age that we are in. There are millions and millions of examples that will tell you there's so many stereotypes that we, heard as children, or you heard as children in your times, were basically stereotypes. They have been proven wrong. We are absolutely unique, and our capacity and capability is not limited to any narrative we have heard in the past. We create our own um present, we create our own reality, right? And we are all absolutely unique. And if we can be good at anything we want, and if you're not good at one thing and good at something else, that is your uniqueness, and you need to appreciate and accept it. That's a lot of lecture from me, but I hope that I hope that helps you. All right. So that brings us to the end of this session, actually. But I'm going to keep it open for another 5-10 minutes, so that if you have any questions, we have the chance to discuss. So we'll just look at this slide, and let's affirm together, okay, that in the infinity of life, where I am, all is perfect, whole, and complete. The past has no power over me, because I am willing to learn and change. All is well in my world, right? All is well in your world. You're perfect just as you are, right? And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't improve, right? You shouldn't move forward and embrace new things or learn new things. By all means, please do, because we cannot leave ourselves behind. We have to keep learning, we have to keep evolving, but we mustn't um, limit ourselves based on any past narratives, thoughts, or actions of, our own thoughts or actions, or thoughts or actions of other people in the past, right? No matter who they are, they could be the most dearest people in our life. They could be random people in our life who came in our life. They could be our teachers, our families, our friends, anybody, right? Nothing anybody said or did has any power over you now, if you choose to believe that it doesn't. It's about your belief. It's about what you think, right? So it is just really as simple as that. It's just something so simple, and different authors have churned out books out of this very simple fact, right? And people are earning millions and millions because they write about the same thing, twist and turn the words. But the one simple truth is that you are really a sum of your own beliefs. As long as you believe in something, that is what you become. And that could be a belief that you've carried from somebody, or that could be a belief that you've very carefully examined, and only then you have chosen. It is just a narrative that you have chosen to accept and embrace in your heart, right? So you can either keep it, or you can let it go. You can reframe it for your benefit, or you can let it, make you miserable, which we don't want. So we need to become conscious, reframe the old narratives, Let go of the negative ones that don't belong at all. Some other things could be very, very destructive that other people might have told us. Just let them go, right? And if you find it difficult, if somebody hurt you, somebody said something, maybe you hurt someone unconsciously, the best way to let go of it is by practicing forgiveness, forgiving yourself and forgiving others, forgiving, asking for forgiveness, right? Forgiving them for anything they did to you, and forgiving yourself for however you have felt, whatever you did. Okay, that brings us to the end of this session. We're 9:14 p.m. EST, so EDT here. So the floor is open. I will let you share if you have any questions or have any sharings to share. Please go ahead.
Beautiful session, Jess.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Ah, anybody wants to? Let me see if you have something in the chat. Thank you, Mom. Awesome.
Hi, Jess. It's Nina here.
Yes.
I just want
Hi,
to
Nina.
share, hi. I joined a little bit late, so sorry about that. But
That's okay.
it was such a wonderful session, and I have to say, like when you, as you said, we never tell ourselves you're cute, right? So I can relate this to me myself, right? Even if I compliment myself, like, oh, Nina, you're so beautiful. Sometimes I feel like I don't mean it, you know. So what should be done about that? Wait
Yeah.
1 second. Okay.
So
Yeah.
think about it. That's Thank you so much for Nina for sharing this. So think about when you're telling this to yourself, at the back of your mind, what is going on, right? So sometimes what we're saying is not aligning with what we are thinking. So it could be an unconscious thought in your mind, that in unconscious narrative, right? That either you have been telling yourself, you've heard, or you've presumed about yourself, right? And so
Correct.
that's why it sounds like awkward when you look at the mirror and you say that. What you should do,
Mhm.
continue changing that
Right.
narrative. Continue telling yourself, I'm beautiful. And you don't have to focus on your look in your eyes and tell yourself that I am beautiful. You know, I am beautiful for the journey I've been through. I am beautiful for the experiences I've had. I am
Hmm.
beautiful inside out. I approve of myself. I am worth it. Right?
Perfect.
The L'Oreal's I am worth it is a
Yes.
very clever way that the way L'Oreal, projects it, but it's not really doing justice because it's still selling products and says that
Correct.
continue using our products and still feel worth it. But if you truly feel worth it, you don't need to use their products. I'm just saying that. Again, it's
Yeah,
true.
that's
And
true.
if truly people understood that they're worth it, they wouldn't need to buy 20 different shades of lipsticks to feel good about themselves. You know,
Correct.
one
Yes.
gloss would do it every single time. I'm kidding, obviously, but really, I mean, uh, to be able to feel beautiful and worth it is when the moment you stop comparing yourself with XYZ and you just embrace yourself. And if you have to compete, you compete with yourself, right? Hey, I
Correct.
want to improve myself. I want to look even better. I love myself now, but you know what? I'm going to love myself tomorrow. I'm going to love myself today. I'm going to love myself tomorrow just as I am. But I want to improve myself. What can I do to improve myself? Invest in yourself, right? Um, have natural good foods. Yeah, you don't need to mask yourself behind makeup to look good. This is just an example of the external validation that we look for. Usually, the external validation we look for is because we think we're not good enough. We have to mask ourselves, right? That's when telling yourself that you're good enough it feels awkward. I have done that. I remember Sorry, I'm talking too much. I'll just stop here after
No,
like
it's
one example. And I was a teenager. I used to, oh my God, how much I used to ask my mom, how much I used to berate myself. And I, I'm very influenced by my peers in college and everything. And I remember I would love, wearing lip colors and all that. And they actually did a lot of damage, then I realized at the time. But um, yeah, it was more like masking. For me, it was more like a masking, like, oh, I'm gonna look better if I wear this. I don't look good enough naturally, right? From where did I grab that idea? Because now when I look at my pictures, I'm like, oh my God, look at me. I'm so pretty. How can what was I thinking at the time, right?
right.
But we never appreciate ourselves, but I mean, I shouldn't say that. Like, sometimes people don't appreciate themselves in the moment. And when you look at your old pictures, then you realize, oh my God, I'm looking so nice. How could I have judged myself, right? You should never judge yourself, because there's a world of people who are there to judge you. So you have to be kinder to yourself, right? So now every single time you feel like this doesn't feel real, tell yourself, your mind, you instruct your mind, this is absolutely real. I am absolutely stunning inside out. And you repeat this. You say it out loud. So, first time, it will sound awkward. It might sound awkward the next 10 times also. But the 11th time, it will work, because now you're programming your mind to see and accept yourself just as you are. And if you want to, if you think that, oh, I need to improve this, I need to, work on my skin. Yeah, I am absolutely beautiful. But you know what? I can start having a juice mix in the morning. Let's see. I'm sure that's going to help me, right? So
Right.
you do your research, do you do what other things you can do to improve yourself, but no comparison with XYZ outside of you. The only
Hmm.
comparison is with you, from yesterday, and that too in a positive, graceful, accepting manner. Okay?
Lovely. Thank you, Jess. You're wonderful.
Anytime. Thank you, Ina.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jess, so much.
Yes.
I would like to say a little bit, regarding my experience also with the weather.
Yes.
I'm really scared of lightning for some reason. So thank you for sharing that. All these years, I don't know, especially after living in Florida, the lightning is so worst over here, and it just,
Oh, okay.
feels like it hits the ground most of the time. So
Mm,
it really freaks me out. So even if I see like dark clouds outside, like getting really dark gray,
mm,
and that fear start hitting my head that, oh, it's going to light, it's going to light. And I just try to like
mm.
hide myself. That's how fear it has created to me. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much, Nikita, for sharing this with us as well. So no, this is very interesting. Yeah, because maybe, obviously, I didn't realize the extent of how that makes you feel, right? So thank you for sharing this. Um, and of course, in Florida, maybe there are incidents, etc. Uh, right there, So basically, I think that anything that you're afraid of, send it love. This is something that I have learned to practice myself, right? Obstacles, things that bring um, things that sort of bother us, send them love, right? Because this is not about a narrative. If it is about a narrative, change that narrative in your mind, right? No, I am not afraid of lightning, right?
Right.
I am always safe and protected. I am divine. I am always safe and protected by the divine. This should be your inner thought, right? Because anything
Right.
that you're afraid of is going to harm you is because you think that you're not safe. Internally or unconsciously, that's the narrative. And so now that you understand, hey, I'm afraid of this thing, I have been in the past, but now I don't have to be, because I know that I am always safe and protected by the divine, right? And then when you look at the clouds, send them love. I'll tell you one thing I used to do. Like I've recently started doing that. I love the sun. There was a time I would be like, I'd get really cranky looking at, cloudy skies and thinking, oh my God, it's gonna rain again. Oh my God, it's gonna snow again. Now, when I look at the sky, I just think of the sun. Even if it's cloudy, I just pray, oh, sun, please come out. I'm missing you. And then I send love to the clouds. Clouds, please, I love you. Uh, I'm grateful for you because there are places that need rain, and you're bringing rain. You're bringing freshness. You're bringing water to people or to beings who need water. But I'm really yearning for the sun. Please, please, can you go and bring the sun? Bring the sun out. It's a very silly way of saying this, but I actually say this. Sometimes I've said that in my heart. And you're not going to believe the sun would come out. Somehow the sun would peep out of the clouds and I would get some of those sun rays, on crazy windy days when I would be out for walks and, the sun would be hiding behind the clouds. I would do that, right? Sending love because we all operate at a magnetic, at an energy level. And there is a magnetic field around our heart. It is our heart center, which is the source of unconditional love, right? And so
Yeah.
when we operate from there and we, you know, send our prayer, send our love to anything, it actually, that's what we're going to receive. Fear only brings more fear. If you're sending the energy of fear to the universe, guess what the universe is going to give you back? And if you're
More
sending
fear.
the and yeah, if you're sending the energy of love, of acceptance, right? That's what the universe is going to say. The universe is going to turn around and make sure that you're safe and protected and you get what you want because you're only getting at the energetic level what you're thinking, uh, what you're feeling, right?
Yeah.
Feeling is the secret. Have you heard of this? There's a book by Neville Goddard. I'm not recommending right now because we're doing Louis Hayes. You can heal, so please read this first. So, but there's a book. This is a beautiful book. Feeling is the secret. The whole thing is about what you feel and how you feel, and then you create your reality, right? I'll tell you what I'm doing this session with you, but I'll tell you I needed it too. And it's reminding me because it has been like, in the past a few some of the difficult times where sometimes even I get lost in some of those, negative thoughts like, oh my God, I'm looking for work. God, please send me the right job. When will it happen? You know? And now that I'm sharing this with you and you're sharing your examples, your experiences, it reminds me, my gosh, feeling is the secret. What was I feeling? Those limiting beliefs are not going to help me. Any fear is not good, right? I mean, let's send love to fear also. Sometimes I say, let's send love to fear also. Like fear, I send you love. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're just replacing the whole perception of fear. You're just replacing the whole damn emotion from fear to switching from fear to love, from fear to joy, from fear to bindas attitude. Like, sab theek hai, all is well in my world and everything is working out for my highest good. And always say this, Nikita, I am safe and protected. And you see, the divine timing is always going to probably through intuitively or tell you that, okay, Nikita, stay inside today. Your intuition is going to tell you, stay inside today. And you learn to listen to your intuition. This
Yeah.
this develops when you meditate. Slowly, your intuitive power will develop, right? To protect you, to keep you safe. है ना?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, because right now, like I would just be inside and then I'll start playing the mole mantra,
Hmm.
you know, and that helps. But it helps me to a certain extent because still that fear is hitting me all the time in my head.
Yeah,
But thank you so much. Yes, I will
yeah,
definitely.
yes. Playing the मूल mantra with the emotion of fear, वो बस थोड़ा सा जैसे कहते हैं ना कि सिम्टम्स को
Yes.
स्टेबलाइज करना, लेकिन रूट कॉज को तो नहीं हमने पकड़ा, है ना? लेकिन यू
Yes.
से दैट मूल मंत्रा विद एब्सोल्यूट ट्रस्ट इन द यूनिवर्स दैट यस एवरीथिंग इज फाइन, सब कुछ ठीक है,
Yeah.
अभी ईश्वर ने इतना हमें प्रोटेक्ट करा है, अभी भी प्रोटेक्ट कर रहे हैं, आगे भी प्रोटेक्ट करेंगे, है ना?
So true.
और
Yeah.
सबको ही आप दुआ दो, एवरीवन इज सेफ, आई एम सेफ एंड प्रोटेक्टेड, everybody is safe and protected, right? Everyone is safe and protected. So what we give we receive in abundance, right? And without any expectation, you give and you receive that emotion, right? In terms of whatever it is. ठीक है?
Yes. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And my mom is very quiet today. My mom always shares something.
Okay, thank you. It was a nice.
Thank you, Shashi ma'am. Anytime.
You know, the one thing anytime I hear, not only you, but other people or anybody recording the positive thinking and all those things we are doing meditative, it I boil down to the one line that it make we have to change ourselves.
Yeah, yeah,
No, nothing is gonna change around us,
yeah.
and nobody is going to change around us, but we have to change ourselves.
Yes,
Is
that's so
that the
true.
bottom line of it?
That's the bottom line. That's our thinking, right? It's all
Yeah.
our thinking, our belief. Somebody
Yeah.
tells us you can't do this, you can't do that. उनके बोलने से क्या होता है? आप जो बिलीव करते हो वो तो आप पे है ना? आप जो बिलीव
उसमें बस
करते हो
अपने आप को ही चेंज करना ना.
अपने आप, वो फिर वही चेंज हुआ ना.
Yeah.
हम अगर किसी की बातों में आ गए या किसी की बात से बुरा मान गए तो हम चेंज कहाँ हो रहे हैं? हमें
No.
चेंज तो हाँ, दैट्स
Yeah.
एग्जैक्टली. हमको चेंज अपने आप को करना है. दैट्स ट्रू.
Yeah.
वी हैव टू वर्क ऑन आवरसेल्व्स.
Yeah. For every session, that is the basic thinking that we have to say that to ourselves. We have to
Yeah.
think this way too. Yeah.
Yes, our narratives.
Thank
And
you.
though
Thank
we're doing this and we're talking about this because why? Because this is such a pivotal thing. This is what people struggle with. This is what everybody struggle. We all have struggled with this exact thing, right? And the other day, I was talking with other because I'm doing this coaching sessions. And the other day I was talking to other coaches and I was like, we talk about helping other people. But the only key to help anybody is by first consistently helping yourself. It is such a consistent work that you'll find experts and experts, people who are Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. He spends first 2 hours of his day on himself. Because if he is not filling his cup, there is no way he can help anybody else. Right?
you.
He is doing so much work on himself. Just imagine, हम कहाँ हैं? हमने तो
Yeah.
अभी रियलाइजेशन करी, अभी स्टार्ट करा है जर्नी. फिर वो भी बहुत बड़ी चीज है ना. हम फिर भी आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, लेकिन आगे तभी बढ़ेंगे जब हम कंसिस्टेंट रहेंगे. तो इसलिए वो चेंजिंग वाली जो चीज है ना, अपने पे वर्क करना, वो आपका कभी स्टॉप नहीं होगा, वो आपका चलता ही रहेगा. वो
That's
एवरीडे करना.
24. I feel this is a work of 24/7. It's a
यस.
24/7 struggle on yourself because you keep on to yourself telling yourself, look, live in the present, live in the present.
या.
जो
वो
हो गया ठीक हो गया, जो होगा वो भी अच्छा होगा.
हाँ
And
जी.
live in the present. But to me it's a constant 24/7 struggle.
नहीं आंटी, बट सी, आप स्ट्रगल, दिस इज सी, आई करेक्ट योर नैरेटिव हियर. इट इज नॉट अ स्ट्रगल, it is a journey. Okay, and you don't have to, because see, the thing is, I'll give you also one more thing. I'll give you one example. 6th स्टैंडर्ड के बच्चे को अगर आप 12th स्टैंडर्ड का सिलेबस दोगे, क्या वो कर सकता है? नहीं कर सकता ना. अनलेस कि वो प्रीवियस लाइफ टाइम में करके आया है, वो तब तो वो हो सकता है जीनियस वो कर भी ले. वो उसी को जीनियस बोलते हैं क्योंकि उसने पुराने लाइफस्टाइल से कैरी फॉरवर्ड कर रहा है वो सारी नॉलेज. ठीक है ना? देयर आर सो मेनी पीपल हु डू दैट. बट we don't have to put ourselves in that pressure. Even if you're spending half an hour on yourself every day, it is progress, right? 24/7 आप अगर भूल गए, आपने 4 घंटे भूल गए, 5वें घंटे आपको अगर याद आ गया तो वो भी बहुत बड़ा क्या कहते हैं, प्रोग्रेस है. So you have to, this is what she also tells you, this is where we fall. We don't have to berate ourselves on the things we are not able to do. This is just really, this is not something like आपको 2 साल का सिलेबस है, आपको 2 साल में ही करना है. ये आपकी पूरी लाइफ टाइम की जर्नी है, ये
Yeah,
आगे बढ़ेगी.
it's a
राइट?
24/7 job.
हाँ. तो इसमें क्या है, जब आप अगर आप कहीं पे रुकते भी हो, आपने 21 दिन भी आपने भूल गए, अगले दिन आपको याद आ गया, वो भी आपकी जर्नी वहां से फिर से स्टार्ट हो जाएगी। जब जागो तभी सवेरा। It's just as simple as that. Whenever you wake up, it's sunshine, it's morning.
Yeah.
Whatever time you wake up, you choose. You can fall, you can always dust yourself and get up, right?
Right.
That's it. So don't think that you don't have to berate yourself. It's okay. It's not a struggle. It's a journey. Even if you're able to beginning, you're starting, take out 30 minutes of your time to just do this conscious work on yourself. It's a progress. You're moving forward, right? Even if you stop and give yourself, even if you've paused because of circumstances, situations, for 2 days, for a week, come back the second week and start again. It's okay. All you have to do is start again. All right? All you have to do is start again. Don't berate yourself. ये हुआ वो हुआ. Life happens. एक साल life happened to me. Work नहीं करा मैंने. अब मैं अपने आप को berate नहीं करूंगी. Right? I'm working towards now. Whatever I'm doing now. Now I have to make my efforts. I mean, I'm saying that I'm making my efforts, right? Not berating myself. I gave myself the grace, and I give myself the grace every single day.
That's
okay.
the other way of putting, like you have to keep on putting your efforts in there.
Yeah, you have to put effort to डालनी है ना, किसी भी चीज को करने के लिए you have to put effort. Intention and effort and consistency.
Yeah.
Intention, effort, be as consistent as you can. But if you don't have the intention and the effort, then that's where,
Then
that's where problems crop up. So,
and then that's all good. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. All right. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.
anytime, Auntie.
Okay.
Anytime. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
All right, dear. So see you next week now, I guess.
See you next week. Yes. I'll see you next week. We'll talk about chapter 4 in next week.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Jess. Thank you so much.
Mama.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you for a beautiful session.
Anytime, Jasdeep ji. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next time then.
Bye. Bye for now.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Love you
Thank
all.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.